Spicy here, we'll get a little sweat on. Okay, so this is Just On with Jonty James, and we have Luke here, someone who I have come by at a place called Kambuna in Krui, South Sumatra. We actually first met in the water, surfing the peak.
And the peak, yeah.
And we ended up just having a chat and having a little discussion about business, about traveling, about, you know, surfing and a few other things. And then I found out that you were staying here. I was planning on coming back here for a couple more days towards the end of my trip. And yeah, we've just continued to have some really cool conversations.
Yep.
Been really inspired by your journey of traveling and exploring and just being on the road and exploring the world and then also creating a life for yourself along the way where you've been able to then continue traveling as well. So could you share your name and just a little brief introduction about yourself first, and then we can just see where the conversation goes.
Awesome, cool, mate. No, it's bloody good to be here, man. Good to have another chat, another catch up. And my name's Luke Devcich. And I'm from New Zealand, same as you, mate. From Waikato, and me and my wife have been here in Indo for 6 months traveling. She's from Mexico, so we've been living in Mexico for the last 5 years, and we're moving back to NZ. And she's I don't know if I told you this. We're sorting out her visa, so we needed to leave NZ to suss that out.
Right.
And we're like, oh, let's do Indo, and so yeah, it's been so good. This is the end of our trip, and love this place too, Sumatra. So yeah, that's what we're doing at the moment, and
Sweet. Cool. Could you give us a little brief overview of where you've been in Indonesia? I'd love to hear a little bit about this trip so far.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so we flew into Bali, and then we were there for like a month, and then we went to Lombok for. Ended up being way longer than we thought. Like it was real open, but we went there for initially a few weeks, then we stayed for like 2.5 months, I think. Yeah, Joanna, she really loved it. Yeah. They reckon it's better in the wet season.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was good. Like there's just heaps of waves. Like we're talking to the fella just now, all along that coast there's heaps of waves. So we were there for like 2.5 months.
Did you stay in Kuta Lombok?
We were in a place called Selanang Balanak. It's like on the west.
Okay.
We were there for like 3 weeks, and then we went into Kuta.
Okay,
which is a mean spot, like real good facilities, and you just get to all the waves really easily.
And it's a bit more set up there, right? There's a few more like cafes and yoga studios and that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's mean. Cool. It's really good. Like it's got good gyms, it's got like saunas, ice bars, like mean restaurants. Yeah, it's a good setup. And all the waves are like about 40 minutes on scooter. Yeah. So that was that was probably the coolest time in terms of like being settled and getting into a routine and surfing, but still being able to work. And then we went to Sumbawa for a week and a half, I think, and that was epic. We went on a swell. It was really cool. Again, they say it's better in the wet season.
Okay. But better for the surf or better for
for the surf.
For the surf.
Yeah, more consistent. Because I think when we were there, it was like after 9:30 a.m. it starts to blow out. Yeah.
True, the trades come in and just knock it out.
Yeah. But we went to a place there called Kertasari, which is the north. So we're on West Sumbawa, is the north of West Sumbawa. Okay. So it's almost like when you're looking at it on the map, it's like almost looks like, man, how's that place even get swell? Because it's like right up in a bay. Yeah. There's a wave called Northern Rights, and we got on a swell, and it was so fun, man. Yeah, you definitely should try and go there when it's
cool.
Yeah. And then we came back to Lombok, and then we went back to Bali for a month. Went up to Ubud.
Ooh.
And then we came up here.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. What an epic trip. And what was like you said, obviously getting a visa for your wife was first part of that, but what was another inspiration for coming to Indo?
Yeah, good question. Obviously surf is like, coming to surf, but also just like, I love Asia, man. Like I lived in Asia for a couple of years when I was first starting my business, but where you're heading to, Southeast Asia. Yeah, all around there. And I don't know, I just love that, like the chaos and the like just the vibe, like the friendliness, just the the Asian
it's
vibe.
all sorts
it's
going
fun.
on.
Yeah. And so we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Indo. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Indo, surf,
Yeah.
culture, good food. It's pretty cheap to live.
For sure, yeah. I think definitely now, like, Indo is going to be a part of our lives. Like, now that we've experienced it,
Yeah.
and fall in love with the country, really. And like, because we've been around like a few different islands, like, really got a feel for
You
it.
get the hang. To go back to that place and
For
explore
sure.
that little area a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah. So
That's so cool.
yeah, man.
So you said that you've been working while you've been traveling. Can you give us a little bit of or share a little bit about your business and how you've managed to create a lifestyle where you're traveling, but also you can work online as well at the same time and fund your travels?
Yeah, awesome. So, mate, I was playing professional rugby in my 20s, sort of on and off, like I played, pretty much spent my 20s like just traveling, playing rugby, doing meditation retreats, real mix of all this stuff. And then when I got to like, I think I was like 29, I just finished the contract in France and I came back and I was playing.
Cool.
And I signed another year there, and the first club game I got a concussion, like a real bad concussion. And I was just like, nah, this is not worth it. Like the head's too important, so I just stopped. And but I'd had a job like a year before I went to France. I had like I was playing for North Harbour. When you're playing ITM or NPC, I'm not sure what it's called now, but it's only like it's really probably only like 4 months where you're busy.
Actually playing and training,
So like people study or work or whatever, and I had a job for like, it was an awesome job, man. Like, it was like awesome crew, like it was a really good job, like I enjoyed it. But after like a month I was like, oh, I can't do this. Like I can't like come in to an office, build someone else's business on the clock, like just the whole thing, it's just like, it just didn't, everything about it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
And I remember going home. Remember that day, I remember going home, I was like, oh, I gotta figure something out. And I just went online, I was like, how to make money online. I just started.
Boom, straight to the point.
I just went down the rabbit hole, bro. And that would have been, when was that? Like, that was like 2013. Yeah. And then obviously you go down the rabbit hole and just all the different opportunities that there are out there, and like the fact that we live at a time now, like our parents, mate, like we can be here in Indo and work, make a living, provide value to people on the other side of the world or wherever, because of the internet. Like it's amazing. It's an amazing time to be alive in that respect, So anyway, I just started hustling, mate. Started learning how to do like consulting online, like helping people with marketing, and I started out selling websites. And then I was like, because at that point I was in NZ. This would have been like 2015, and I was like, oh, I want to go to Asia and start traveling and start building, keep building the business. And so I went to Cambodia first, and then went up Laos, Thailand, all around there for a couple of years. Just building the business, learning new skills, and just going from there.
And continuing to just evolve your offer ultimately.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you share a little bit about specifically what your business is and what you do?
Yeah. So it's definitely, like, you're right. Like, I think for anyone, and definitely it's been my experience, is like it's just an evolution. Like a business is like a microcosm of like us as humans. Like we grow, we learn, we get feedback, we change, and we evolve. Business is the same. Like, I think a lot of business people say the same thing. Like, you might start out doing this, and then 5 years later you're over here doing something completely different, but it was a natural evolution.
It would have only happened because you started here.
Exactly. Yeah, and you get feedback from the market, and then you change what you're doing. So now what we're doing. So I have a business partner who Luke Hamilton. I play rugby with him back
Luke
in the
and
day.
Luke.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for clients.
Luke squared.
Yeah. So he lives in New Zealand, in Auckland, with his family. So we're like I guess you'd say, initially we were like a marketing company, and now we're more like a consulting company. So we help dental implant patients and dental implant dentists in Australia. That's our market.
Those are your clients, your niche.
Exactly, yeah. So we attract the patients, people who need dental implants. Yeah. We then nurture them, book them in with our dental clients into appointments, and then they'll go in and they'll see the dentist, and then we help them with the funding to get there, because dental implants are quite expensive. They're they range from like 5,000 up to like 65,000.
Oh wow,
it's quite a yeah
for new teeth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like top line, bottom, or just a couple. So yeah, it's like an A to Z for helping people who need dental implants, bringing them in, booking them in with a dentist, and then helping them with the funding. It's the full sort of patient journey for people with dental implants. Yeah.
Wow. So consulting people to fix their teeth ultimately.
Well, it's consulting for the dentist.
Okay.
But it's providing a pathway for the patient.
Yeah.
Connecting all the dots in the little, niche of people who need dental implants. Yeah. There's a journey they need to go on, and so our service just connects those dots. It streamlines that. Yeah, exactly.
It's so fascinating.
It's so random, right?
Very random.
Yeah. Like I remember when we were living in Mexico, and like people would ask me, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh," I'd tell them. I'm like, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you even think of that?" But it's just something that, like, when we started the marketing, we had a whole bunch of clients. Like, we got like a roofer, dentist was one of them, obviously, like a florist, like all these different niches, and the dentist one was the one that took off. And so it was just,
you worked with one dentist and you helped them secure customers and secure their processes, and then that just led to more dentists and more dentists.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, so started off marketing, and what came before that? You said you were doing some selling websites, or was there another step that got you to that point?
Yeah, so when I started the business with Luke, that would have been at the end of when I was in Asia, so like 2017.
Yeah.
So before that, I just started out. I was doing copywriting for people, which is like writing marketing messages in a way to help people. To sell. I started out doing that, and then I started doing that and selling websites.
Yeah.
And so I was just selling one-off websites for businesses. And then that transitioned into the marketing services. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What a cool journey to go on. And it's funny how, when you're selling websites, you would have had no idea that you were going to be marketing dental implants to people and supporting dentists at that time.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So I remember you saying, at the moment your business is going through another phase where it's expanding at quite a fast rate. What are some of the challenges that you've been facing at the moment to sort of keep it all together whilst you're expanding?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the biggest thing, like one of the things I love most about business and entrepreneurship is that it is like an internal journey as much as it is an external journey. So it's like every time you do something, it's like life, but it's like quite a concentrated version of it, I find, like in my experience. And so every time like I do something new, or I'm forced to like the business grows, so all of a sudden there's these new, like I've got to manage people, there's different skills and things that I need to do that are out of my comfort zone, that are that there's, because it's out of your comfort zone, you feel resistance, and you've got to sort of like figure it out and evolve, get to that next version of myself as a business owner, entrepreneur. That is the thing that I love about business, and it's also the challenge. So right now it's like we're rolling out a new service. All of a sudden there's like we've got more people in the team, and in the past it was like I would be doing all of this stuff, my business partner would be doing all this, and you sort of had a real finger on the pulse. And you sort of knew what was going on. as the team's grown, it's like you don't automatically have your finger on the pulse. Now I've got to put systems in place and develop skills about how to manage the people and yeah, all that sort of stuff. So so it's cool, it's awesome, like it's super fun, it's an adventure, but that's kind of what's going on now.
Yeah, very cool. So I guess ultimately the skill is learning how to delegate and to remove yourself from micromanaging, right?
Yeah.
And I remember reading something that Tim Ferriss posted about his business when he said the moment his business really took off and he freed himself up was when he delegated, this was an online business selling shoes or something, was when he delegated anything under $1,000 of value, he could delegate it to anyone, and you didn't have to get approval for that particular transaction. And he said when he did that, he went from 40 to 60 hours a week to 2 to 4 hours per week in his business because he delegated all those tasks. So incredible process. In terms of staff now, have you got a team, or what's the layout of your business like?
So I think there's like 8 now, 8 of us. So most of them are Kiwis. My wife does a bit of work as well. We have some people from the Philippines. There's about 8 of us. And they're like what you're saying about the delegation, like that's exactly it. And it's like I think everyone's personality is different. Like for me, it's like I'm like my work ethic is what I've sort of lived off, if that makes sense, like my determination and work ethic. And so for me it's very easy to just keep working and keep doing this stuff and so it's a whole new evolution for me to like, okay, stop doing that, find good people and manage them in the processes and all of that. So some people are like very natural at that. That's something that I'm needing to develop.
Yeah, it's a very good skill.
Yeah.
How have you been able to manage and find balance between traveling and working?
Yeah.
How have you been able to navigate that?
Yeah, it's all I know, mate.
It's become your way of life.
Exactly. It's like literally what I've always done since I've had a business. So for me, it's like, it's just what I do. Like I remember, it's just the pros and cons, right? Like it's a lot easier to have like a settled lifestyle and home and office or whatever. But I just can't compartmentalize it. So like here we are at this beautiful place, Kambuna, in Sumatra. Like it's so far away from what feels like a work environment, right? It's like it's like super far away from that. Like let's go for a surf is what it feels like. But I've just trained myself to be like, okay, cool. Wherever I am in the world or whatever I'm doing, that's cool. But when I open my laptop and sit at the desk, I'm now in a different world. And I just go there. And so it's like, I'm not even here in Kambuna. I'm like, I could be sitting in Auckland. I could be sitting in Mexico. It doesn't matter. And I just do the work. And then I come out, I'm like, oh, sweet, we're in Sumatra, let's go surfing. Or whatever, like, let's enjoy where we are. So that's something I developed early on when I was in Asia, starting out, and I just keep rolling it.
So ultimately, it's an ability to block out any distractions, whether that's the temptation to go surfing or to go and explore a new area or any other type of thing that may catch your attention, and to really lock into your work and just to drop into flow and kind of get straight into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
And it's like just making sure it's a priority, like getting that sort of lined up and but
do you have a specific structure that you operate your days around? Like do you go and work at specific times, or do you allow yourself a surf in the morning or afternoon, or how do you sort of operate when you're doing it?
So I just do a normal day normally. Like I'll get up and like when we're here, I'll get up in the morning and surf, and then just work like 9 till whatever needs doing really. 9 to 4 or 5 or 3 or depending, and then in the evening go for a surf. So pretty standard. I just make sure during those hours I just smash out what I need to.
Lock in. How do you, I know you say you can just lock in and focus, how do you also block out distractions? Do you have any other processes or things that you do?
that for me, that's always like, that's something that I love about work, is like the challenge of developing those qualities within myself of like concentration and how getting into the flow, and also like the finding the joy inside of the admin boring stuff. Like finding that state where I'm locked in, and even if I'm just doing something really mundane, there's joy and love in it.
So like you're just as present doing the most boring of tasks as you are to the most exciting task in your business.
Well, I'm not saying I'm always, like that's
somewhat.
That's my intention. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Because I just find I get the most done when I'm in that sort of state. And then I just use, like, I always got headphones on and listen to like thunder and rain, like the white noise stuff. That helps me a lot.
So that's really tunes you out of everything. And do you do that religiously, like every time you lock into work?
Mostly. Cool.
So you're unaware of anything else that's going on. You're just
into it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So thanks for sharing that story about your business. It's again, it's really inspiring, and it's something that I'm working towards being able to facilitate within myself, being able to travel, but also be able to sit at my desk and really hone in and focus on the work. And that for me has been a big challenge so far, because I get so excited, and there's surf, and there's people to meet, and there's people to talk to, and there's, you know, places to explore and places to adventure. So it's totally really about tuning in and focusing on what's most important. So you've also lived in a few different places. You were living in Mexico for a good stint, was that right? Whereabouts in Mexico were you living?
So I was there for 5 years. In Guadalajara for 2 years. My wife's from Guadalajara. And then we moved for 3 years in Guadalajara, and then for 2 years in a place called Puerto Vallarta, which is on the coast.
Cool.
And,
and so same thing, were you pretty set up there? Like, did you have a house and all that sort of stuff? So you'd been traveling for a while, and then you went to Mexico. You know, I remember you saying that you'd been dating your now wife, and then you guys stopped seeing each other for a while, and then one day did you fly back to Mexico? And to catch up for coffee? Then it obviously all hit off again. How was it living in Mexico and like actually being kind of settled for a while?
Oh man, it was a trip, to be honest. Mexico was a trip, like unreal, but it was like 5 years is a long ass time, man. Like it really is. Like it's half a decade.
Oh, you can do a lot in 5 years.
Oh yeah, shit, a lot can happen in 5 years. It was just a real journey, man. Like I'm all about the adventure, bro. Like, you know, like whatever it is, like in business or life, like let's just do it. Let's just jump off and do it and commit, you know. And so when we reconnected, I was like, I'm just gonna buy a ticket and go and see it. Like, and there was no like, oh, I'm gonna be here for 5 years. We're just like, let's just see what happens. Like, if it doesn't work out, I'll travel around Central America and carry on, you know. But it did work out, and so I was there for 5 years, and it was like, so it was set up, like we had a house and stuff, and we're living, and like I would travel around and that, but like, because I'd lived in a lot of different places, like in Asia and Europe and France and Italy and England and stuff, but it was never for like a really extended period of time.
Right, it was short stints.
Like a year and a half, something like that. And the 5 years in Mexico the pandemic was right in the middle. So I was like, I was kind of like stuck there for like a good few years.
Right.
Couldn't even leave, really. And so it was just an awesome time. Like I got confronted with a lot of things, you know, because it's a super foreign place, like completely a different culture, different language, and all of those conditions together like forced me to grow and adapt and learn things that I think if I wasn't not forced, but like I wasn't in that kind of situation, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to. So it was really cool, man. It was a good time.
What were some of those things that you were, I guess, forced or kind of just guided into learning?
Yeah, well, the language was probably the main thing, mate.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was like, well, you know
So
how it
no
is,
more
man.
poquito española?
Yeah, no, ahorita habla español y entiendo, pero before, like, so, mate, you know what Slayers keeps like, we don't learn, like, we don't learn. No, it's not part of our culture, you know, and so the first, like, year or a couple of years, I was like, it's like, I was, like, learning it, but I wasn't a handy. And so, but after some time, like, the people, like, Joanna's family, the people around, was like, oh, bro, why aren't you speaking Spanish? Like, you know, like, come on, mate, like, what's going on, you know?
Kind of checking you out.
Yeah,
like,
like, you should be speaking Spanish by now. And, because it just didn't come naturally, so anyway, I was sort of, and there was a part of me that was resisting it, like, really, I don't know what it was. It was obviously just something inside of me, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was like a real challenge for me, but I broke through it, and I was like, no, I'm doing this, and I got there, and now I speak Spanish and understand it. You know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think with learning a language, you learn a whole new culture, pretty much, right?
Oh, mate, it opens up a whole new world, basically. Like, because you can now connect with people in that language.
Yeah, that usually you wouldn't be able to connect with, and it's just sitting there with Google Translate and having a very broken, delayed conversation.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's really, and like here, like I still get a buzz, mate. Like, you know, we'll be out surfing, there'll be some guys from Spain or whatever, and I can talk to them, and you know, and I'm so glad that I was, because I think if I was only there for a couple years, or if I tried to learn it from New Zealand, and I wouldn't have learnt it. Like, so.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So, in conversations, you've shared to me that you've had a few plant medicine journeys, and of which I'm very fascinated about. I've been on a few journeys myself, and have discovered and learnt a lot of things about myself that I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't have been down that path. Would you like to, you don't have to share what you've done, but would you like to share some of the learnings and experiences that you've had that have altered your life, I guess, for the good?
Yeah. So I haven't done a whole heap, mate. Like I was sort of, like I was telling you, like I, for the longest time was into meditation and still am, you know, like it was something I was
saying. You started it very young?
Yeah, like at high school, like I started meditating and like, but like
what led you into that as well, just before you share the rest of it?
I think just like always, well, I remember my granddad always had this epic bookshelf of like esoteric books.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I'd go up into his office.
Old man.
Yeah, and I'd just like get books and read them. Like, whoa, this is crazy. And like, so that was always there. And then I just remember I can still remember seeing this book, and it was called like Mind Power. I can't remember what it was. I was like young, and I just locked in. I was like, oh yeah, like the mind's the thing. Like I need to figure that out. Like that's the thing I've got to like go down the rabbit hole on. And I just remember having that thought when I was young, and so it just made sense to me to you know, cultivate consciousness and you know, do what I could and learn and increase my awareness and stuff like that. And so that's sort of how I got into it, and what I'd sort of been doing like as a way to nourish and grow within myself all through my 20s. And the psychedelic stuff never really interested me, or
you've been cultivating it naturally.
Yeah, it was sort of like, I felt like I was getting what I needed, but in Mexico, because even back home, mate, like in NZ, like there's not a big culture of psychedelics or plant medicine, or
especially when you would have been in your late teens, early 20s.
Nah,
like there's definitely there, but nowhere near as much as other places.
Nah, exactly. And so, but Mexico, the Americas, I think is a real hub of it. And so I was there, and so Joanna, my wife, this was the last 2 years where we were in Mexico, she shared a video with me, and it was Cambo.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, like check this out, we should go try it. And I watched the video.
Like, sweet.
And I was like, oh, this looks cool. Like, you know, the way it was, the way I understood it was it's like a physical cleansing experience, you know? I was like, man, let's do it. Like, and I was like, open to it at that stage. Like I'd heard enough about plant medicines that I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It felt natural.
Exactly, yeah. And then we went that day and did the combo, and she's pulling faces. We went into the combo, and I was talking to the guys who were there. I was like, oh, tell me like what's the crazy, because these are dudes who are like into that world, I was like, what's the craziest thing you've done, and like tell me about the different things. And they were like the Mount Everest of plant medicine is bufo. And I was like, oh, what's bufo? Or they call it sapo,
Okay,
bufo,
yeah.
or some people call it 5-MeO DMT.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, there's like ayahuasca, there's San Pedro, there's all these different things. And then they were like, then there's bufo. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then when I went to do the combo, I said to the shaman, I was like, you heard of this bufo thing? And he was like, yeah, I've got some. And he's like, do you want to do it? Like just real low key, just like, yeah, there's a lady doing it later today. Do you want to do it? And it was like this convergence of reality where I was like, I kind of had no choice. I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And it felt
so you'd
right.
asked that morning about, you'd only just learned about that morning, and then you had the offer to do it.
Never heard of it in my life. Never heard of it in my life. And it turns out it's the most beyond thing that I've done.
Yeah.
So it all happened within like 2 hours. Learning about it and then doing it. It was wild, mate. And so we did the combo, and that was like a
purge.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was a purge, physical purge, and it was really good. Like, and the way that the shaman did it, he was real. Because you can get, mate, like you can get like shamans who are cowboys and all sorts. Yeah. But Oscar, he was such a legend, like a real legit guy. And so he likes doing the combo first because it clears the physical, and then you do the bufo, and then you do the sapo. And so did the combo in the morning, and then did the bufo in the afternoon. And, oh mate, I mean... Yeah, it's something else, man. Like,
so what happened on that bufo experience?
So, I mean, you set up the thing, and you smoke it, and the good thing is I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? Like
you hadn't heard any stories.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, okay.
Hadn't YouTubed anything, and it's a good thing I didn't, because I was just like, cool. It just felt right. I knew I was going to do it. I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew that a breakthrough was, it was time for a potential breakthrough, energetically. But that's probably the key thing. Like it's not so much mental or psychedelic, it's an energetic experience where like you take it, and then there's like you count down from 10, and then you lie down, and then you just go. My first experience, so I've actually done it 3 times now.
Yeah.
The first experience was like, I went down, and then within like seconds, I just went energetically or experientially, or my conscious awareness went immediately to like, think of like all the pain and suffering that you felt, that that you've felt in your life. It just went straight into all of that in like a second.
Yeah.
And then there was like an experience of resisting it, and then there was an experience of letting it go, and then just this like epic heart opening like
expansion after the surrender.
Exactly. But really energetic, like really like in the body, like feeling like lifetimes of blockage just got blown open to infinity type thing. And then I remember just crying, bro. Like it was just like this release. And then Joanna was like sitting over there, and then Oscar got Joanna to come, and she came, and she was there with me for a bit, and then it was like maybe like another 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and then it just sort of calms down, and then you're back.
Yeah. What do you think shifted in your life from before the experience of doing it to now after doing it once, 2, 3 times?
Yeah. So it's funny, man, because like the first time after I did it, I was like, oh, I'm doing it again, like I'm definitely doing this again. And I did, but the second one was like, because then Joanna did it and I did it with her, but the second one didn't do much to me. And then my sister and her fiance came to Mexico, and they wanted to do it, and I did it again with them. But that third time,
what was the gap between times as well?
Not a lot of time, like I want to say like a year.
Okay, yeah.
Or for this sort of thing, I don't know, if you have like, that was quite a short time in my experience, but now after the third time I'm like, oh well, I don't need to do that again for like, I don't even know if I need to do it again, to be honest. But a lot shifted, bro, like just, it's hard to say what shifted, but I just know it was like an energetic, like things that I wasn't even conscious of, subconsciously got cleared, because all of a sudden I was able to, it was a really strange experience. So all of a sudden I was able to behave and act and be more freely myself, but I didn't even know before that I wasn't. If that makes sense? Like I didn't know that there was this thing that needed to be
subconscious, right?
Exactly.
Before.
Yeah.
So you weren't aware of it, but then you became aware of the new state, and you're like, holy moly, I was living like that, and now I'm living like this, and it's like, wow, it's so different.
Yeah. And the timing of it was quite interesting because it coincided with like, I had an experience before it of like, I'd been doing this sort of certain type of like inquiry, like a sort of like a form of meditation leading up to that buffo trip, and I'd had a shift in that as well. So in terms of like my level of like thought or mind identification, I'd had a real shift in that, and so that coincided with the buffo. And so there's a lot of things, but basically after that period of time, things flowed a lot easier. I was more direct in my relationships, more free of problems, really, like just more open and real.
And I think, we talked about this earlier, like obviously all your years of meditation and connecting with yourself led you to that moment of like that serendipitous moment where you had this offering and you took it upon yourself to open yourself to the invite, and then you got to have this, I guess, ultimately big life-changing moment because of all the work that you've done leading up to that.
I think you're right.
What's your meditation practice like now? What do you usually do on a typical day or a week?
My sort of flow right now is like, I'll get up and I'll start by, like, I'll just sit down, I'll just sit up in bed, and I'll just feel in the body, like feel the energy in the body, and just let that like settle and sit and just be with that. And then what I do is I sort of transition between like inquiring into the thought mechanism, the thought sort of mechanism in the mind. Like I'll it's hard to sort of, I've never really talked about it. Essentially what I'm doing is like, how I sort of conceptualize it is like, I'm getting real clarity or clear seeing into what is a thought and what is direct experience. And so, because like what I find, for myself is like when I'm really thought identified and like for example, here we are in this beautiful place on the beach. What's happening right now is like, there's this tree there, you and I are talking, there's a camera, we can hear the waves, like that's it. Everything else is a story, like what I'm doing tomorrow, how my business, like whatever, like a
past, the future.
All of that is thought. And so what I'm doing when I meditate is I'm like getting real clarity within myself. Okay, this is a thought, this is a story, like all these things I've got to do, that is up in the story world. And then what's actually happening, like making sure my relationship to like direct experience is clear and it's settled, and it's like all of my energy and consciousness, at least a good part of that is established in direct experience. because the work I do too is like very mental and stuff, and so it's like if I get too, so I'm doing that. I have a process for doing that, and then I just go into my day, and then I do a little bit of visualization and stuff. So I don't know if anything I just said there made sense, because it's quite hard to talk about, but
completely makes sense. I think at the core of it is cultivating presence with your reality.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, for me, it's like it's developing a relationship with direct experience, which is just clear beingness.
Pure presence.
Presence. And having that as like the basis of my day, myself, like, and then everything else is like on top of that, and not getting confused about, thoughts and emotions and all of that, having clarity on like, how that all sort of comes together.
Wow, it's incredibly powerful. So throughout your day, when you are confronted with any challenging moments, whether that's in your business, whether that's in your relationship, whether that's in your day-to-day adventures, when you are faced with something challenging, do you have a particular process that you engage with to regulate yourself?
It's a great question, bro. So I think of like my experience of like internal journey is like there's release, and then there's reconditioning. So for me, I think the two need to go together, because if I'm just, I can only speak of my own experience, if I'm just focused on like reconditioning my my mind to like, focus on good thing and be positive, like empowering thoughts and empowering perspectives, and conditioning myself only and not focusing on also releasing when issues come up and old conditioning arises, it very easily things get confusing. So for me, like if something happens, like if I get something challenging or something goes wrong, the first thing I'll do is just connect with how I feel, see the story that's going on in my mind about that, and just release it all. Just relax it, like physically, energetically, mentally, like release it all, and then I will refocus after I've released it, and I can feel like, okay, cool,
okay, I'm clear of it now.
Like
you'll let your body process it, basically.
I've relaxed. I will then refocus on the ideal outcome that I'm trying to achieve, and whatever that is, like I will, so for example, something, I don't know, like it can be anything, bro. Like say you're out in the surf and something happens, and like I get pissed off or I fall off, or I don't know, whatever, like I'll just like, okay, cool, it'll just happen real quickly, but like, cool, just relax, and then I'll just focus on, okay, let's catch a good wave, and just focus on that, and none of the negative stuff. But that applies to like anything, like business stuff, and so just the releasing, and then a refocusing on the positive outcome that I'm trying to get, and feeling that too. I think the energy behind positive expectation is the most important thing. Like I can like notice, like if I'm just like, okay, I want this positive outcome, but if I don't feel energetically like, oh, this is going to happen, that needs to be there too. It's like, it's kind of like jumping off the cliff. It's like, yep, this is what's happening now. Like it's just the positive refocusing, both mentally and emotionally.
Wow, connecting mind, body together and working in unison for your ideal outcome ultimately.
Exactly.
Wow.
But then at the same time knowing like it doesn't actually matter. Like not being so bound up and like it needs to be this way, otherwise I'm going to be pissed off. Like
removing the attachment to the outcome in the process. Wow. It's incredibly powerful stuff, and thank you for sharing your specific way. Obviously this is your subjective experience and how you interact, but I think it's very relatable to life, and how all of us should be able to somehow navigate challenges, is to be able to come back into our bodies, to be able to hold ourselves, and then to be able to completely surrender to the chaos that has come up within us amongst the challenge, and to let go of that tension, and then to refocus on what we actually want out of the situation.
Exactly.
It's incredibly potent. Is there anything else that you would like to share that has been a big support for your life? Is there anything else that's present for you right now?
Support for my life, I think like something that I like feel has been helpful for me is like always just I think where we come from is like this, but just always like trying to take care of, you know, whoever's around me in my environment and you know, animals, like always just looking out for the best of what's around me. I feel like just having that outlook, things work out, you know, like, because it's like you take care of what's around you, and it's like everything takes care of you in a way. Like, I don't know, that's just something that I an orientation that's kind of like a global blanket over the way I look at the world, and it seems to be helpful. Yeah,
it's almost like like karma, right? Like if I go around my day and I look after everything, I treat everything with respect, I leave it slightly maybe better than I found it. And ultimately I will be supported in that process. Smile to everyone, pet the animals, you know, just be kind to everyone that you get to interact with.
Just be kind. I think that's
cool.
a
Thank
way
you
to
so
put it.
much for sharing that. What's your Instagram? Is there anything else that people would be able to go to find your business? Let's say if there's a dentist that listens to this and they go, holy shit, it sounds epic, I want to work with this legend. What's your website and what's your contact details?
I'm pretty much invisible online. Everyone I meet here, bro, like they're like, oh, your Instagram. Like, I just give them my wife's, and like, if you want to see what we're doing, you can follow my wife. If you want to message me, here's mine. But yeah, I'm not really online personally. But my business, the website is Get Dental Implants.
Get Dental Implants.
GetDentalImplants.com.au, because it's all in Australia.
Cool.
I am on Instagram, Luke.Devcich, but there's not much going on there. But
I'll add it to the show notes.
But people can find me there. I think that's it, brother.
Perfect, bro. Well, mate, thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
really
bro.
Really appreciate this conversation.
Mate, thanks for having me.
Super inspired by your journey, and just looking forward to hearing what's next. Obviously, you're off to New Zealand to go and settle down there. So, super exciting.
Thanks, mate. And mate, you too. Good luck. I'm super excited to watch your journey, bro.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cheers,
Cheers, brother.